The sun rises, casting soft rays through the curtains. Maiara stands by her window, looking out at the vast looming forest. Something in her stirs, a sense of urgency and curiosity she can't quite explain. In the kitchen, Mark is hunched over a bowl of cereal, his attention divided between his tablet screen and the bowl. He is engrossed in a gaming chat, barely noticing his sister standing there, her gaze lost in thought. Maiara, watching him, cracks a smile but says nothing. Taking a deep breath, Maiara turned away from the window and moved towards the door. She wasn't sure what she needed exactly, but something told her a walk outside might clear her mind, if only for a little while. She reached for her jacket when the familiar sound of Mark's voice echoed down the hall. "Hey, you heading out?" he asked from the doorway, looking up from his tablet. Maiara paused, her hand still on the doorknob. She glanced back at him, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah, just thought I'd take a walk. The weather's nice today." Mark leaned against the doorframe, his eyes narrowing slightly in curiosity. "You want company?" Maiara hesitated for a moment, then shrugged. "Sure, why not? Company might be more welcoming today. Just don't make me regret it." Without missing a beat, Mark replied, "Let me just grab my shoes and I'll be right there." A few minutes later, the two siblings were stepping outside into the cool morning air. Maiara inhaled deeply, feeling the crispness of the air clear her thoughts, just a little. Mark, as usual, was slightly ahead of her, hands in his pocket, walking with the relaxed casual pace he always had. "So, what's been going on with you lately?" Mark asked after a few moments of walking in silence. Maiara was a little surprised by the question. Normally, Mark would just stay in his own world, wrapped up in a game or whatever else was on his mind. He wasn't one to dig deep. She glanced at him, her brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "Well, you've been different," he said, his tone softer than usual. "Quiet. Too quiet. Not the usual sarcastic, annoying sister I know." Maiara couldn't help but let out a small chuckle, but the humor didn't reach her eyes. "Guess I'm just tired of being annoying." Mark looked at her for a moment, studying her expression. "Yeah, you can really be a pain in my side sometimes, but I would also like to see the other side of you. You know, the caring sister one. Sarcasm is pretty good too." Maiara sighed, pulling her jacket tighter around her. "I've just got a lot of things on my mind lately. Weird dreams, weird feelings, stuff I'm trying to figure out." Mark slowed his pace, glancing at her curiously. "Weird dreams? What kind of dreams?" Maiara hesitated, not sure how to explain it all. "I don't really know. I've been seeing these symbols. They feel like they mean something. And then there's this voice whispering my name, telling me things." Mark's expression shifted from playful to serious. "That doesn't sound normal." "Yeah, I know," she replied, her voice low. "I'm not even sure if it's real or it's just me losing my mind." Not knowing what to say, they walked in companionable silence for a while, the morning sun casting long shadows on the pavement as they made their way through the quiet neighborhood. The world around them felt still, peaceful even, but Maiara couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting beneath the surface. When they reached the park at the end of the street, Mark nudged her with his elbow. "You know, we should do this more often. Not everything has to be about gaming or whatever else is going on. Sometimes it's just nice to get out and breathe. Talking would be great too." Maiara smiled, appreciating the simplicity of the moment. "Yeah, I guess you're right." As they sat on a bench, watching the world slowly wake up around them, Maiara felt something stir inside her. She calms herself down, thinking that this might all be some wild imagination, and maybe trust that the answers she was searching would reveal themselves in time. She breathes in deep, fully grasping the moment. Then, as if in a trance, she gets up from the bench, walking to a specific part of the park that leads to the nearby forest. Mark calls out to her, but she replies some mumbling words that he could not make out. Reluctantly, he follows. They enter the forest, the trees towering over them, their gnarled branches twisting like silent sentinels. The deeper they go, the quieter it gets, save for the sound of their footsteps crunching through the leaves. Mark breaks the silence. I swear, you're like some character in a spooky story. This is where the creepy forest monsters show up. Maiara laughs softly but does not explain. The deeper they venture, the more intense the pull becomes, like something is drawing her forward. Finally, they reach the clearing, and Maiara steps slow. Her breath catches. There it is. A circle of ancient stone stands before them, covered in moss, graffiti from other passing teens, cans and burnt marks looking half buried in the earth, just like the ones from her dreams. Symbols are etched into the surface, symbols she's seen in her notebooks, symbols she's drawn over and over again. This is it, she whispered, almost reverently. Mark stares at the stones, frowning. May, are we supposed to be here? She doesn't answer, stepping forward. Her fingers brush against the cool stone. As soon as she touches it, a shiver runs down her spine, and she feels a sudden, powerful rush of energy. The air around them grows heavier, thick with an unspoken weight. Mark, feeling the tension in the air, takes a cautious step back. May, this doesn't feel right. She doesn't hear him. She's too focused on the symbols, tracing them with her fingertips. There's something here, something ancient and alive. Suddenly, a vision emerges, a flood of images, whispers from the past, rituals under the full moon, and the faint outline of a figure standing among the shadows. May? Mark calls again, but his voice seems distant. Maiara, entranced, can't stop. The whispers grow louder, the air growing colder. The feeling of being watched intensifies, like a presence has just joined them in the clearing. She closes her eyes, letting the visions wash over her. A sharp wind gusts, and when she opens her eyes, another presence is known. The wind howls in the clearing, conveniently stopping just outside the stone circle. Maiara feels it deep within her chest, as if the airy air itself is alive. The whispers grow louder, more distinct, curling around her thoughts like tendrils. She blinks rapidly, her pulse quickening, trying to shake off the sensation that something is shifting in the space between the visible and the unseen. Mark cannot see anything she sees, but looking at her sister, he figures something is wrong. May, this is creepy as hell. We need to get out of here now. But Maiara doesn't respond. Her hand still rests on the stone, her fingers trembling slightly. Her mind is filled with images, overwhelming and vivid. Visions of ancient rituals, of people in robes chanting in forgotten tongues beneath the moonlight, of dark shadows that flit across the edges of her sight. And then, in the corner of her vision, a figure appears. Not a person, an outline, shifting, flickering like a candle flame caught in the wind. The figure doesn't move, yet its presence is undeniable, as if it's waiting for her, beckoning her to come closer. In that moment, she understands. The stones are alive, They are more than just relics of the past. They are vessels, waiting for someone to awaken their power. She can feel it now, the pulse of ancient magic coursing through her veins, rising to the surface. Her hand reaches out instinctively, hovering over the stone. Her fingers tingle, and for a split second she feels the warmth of flame flicker beneath her skin, dancing just below the surface. One by one, Maiara touches upon all the stones present, feeling the energy interconnect to the last, air growing thicker and colder with each touch. Now, the one soft breeze has turned into a frigid gust, and the shadows seem to stretch, elongating unnaturally. Once she finishes connecting the last stone, all falls quiet, as if the winds are resting, delighted and pleased. Then in the stillness, Maiara hears it, a low crackling sound, like fire burning in the distance. Her gaze shifts and the figure is gone, but the stone beneath her fingertips vibrates as though it's come alive. She cannot see any fire, but she hears and smells it, like it's there, but not quite. "That was amazing," she finally murmurs, getting out of the trance. She felt all that power, control, frightening but exhilarating, like she never experienced before. Mark's face, on the other hand, is pale, his eyes wide with fear. "What are you talking about? This is crazy. You're freaking me out, May. I don't even know what that was." Her pulse races as she smiles gently. A door has opened, a threshold. She can feel it in her very bones. A connection to something ancient, something she doesn't fully understand yet. She pulls her hand away from the stone, her mind swirling with images that flood her consciousness. There's something more. An invitation she's been given. Something she can't ignore, despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "Mark?" Maiara whispers, her voice distant, almost reverent. "We need to go back home, but I have to come back here. I have to understand what this is." "Yeah, let's go," he happily complied. Maiara's mind is racing as she and Mark walk through the trees, the silence between them thick with unease. The forest, which had felt so inviting moments ago, now seems oppressive, as though it's watching them, waiting for something. Mark looks at her, his expression a mixture of concern and disbelief. "May, are you sure you're okay? I've never seen you like this before. You're different." Maiara's chest tightens at the words. She doesn't know how to explain it to him, how to tell him that something has awakened inside of her. A force she can't control, a pull towards something she doesn't understand yet, but can't ignore. Yeah, I'm fine," she says quickly, though the light tastes bitter on her tongue. She's not fine. She's not even sure what she is anymore. The visions have become more frequent, the whispers louder, and she feels the weight of something ancient pressing on her. It feels like she's standing on the edge of a precipice, and she doesn't know whether to leap or turn back. They finally reach the edge of the forest. The open fields stretch out before them. The trees seem to exhale in relief, their branches swaying in the wind, the sky above still and vast. "Let's just go home," Mark says, his voice a little calmer now, though the edge of fear still lingers. Back home, Mark returns happily to his tablet, not wanting to talk about anything that happened, while Maiara, in her room, looks attentively at her fingertips, trying to recall and memorize everything she had just experienced.